Hey guys, happy day. I'm just gonna kind of finish up and talk a little bit about the Federalists versus the Anti-Federalists, because we didn't get to that in class. And then you will take your quiz, and then I have a little activity for you. We have our test tomorrow, so chapters 6 through 9. Feel free to text or email if you have any questions. And yeah, you guys got this. I guess just kind of along the way is little things. Obviously there's vocab that's important, but as you're going along and studying, try and think about like what's the big picture. So for example, what's the big picture of the Articles of Confederation? What is the big picture, like if you think of one or two battles that are significant in the American Revolution? But what are the effects of that? What are all the causes? So, you guys got this, okay? Obviously the big effects of the American Revolution is forming their own government. This is where we left off, but you had green pictures, so I wanted to show you this real quick. This is Independence Hall in Philadelphia, where they made the Constitution, and I thought it looked cooler in color. So you can go visit it if you ever want to. It was really hot in there. They were bound to secrecy. There were guards at the door. Okay, so we already talked about the Constitution, the compromises, slavery, and in general how they set it up, thankfully, for checks and balances to make sure that no king ever had too much power again. Okay, so this is what I just want to kind of quickly talk about. We talked about the word ratification and what that means, and it means, does it get approved by the states? Are they going to follow it? Because remember, just some people wrote this, and now the states actually have to ratify it. So there's a lot of disagreement in it, and it kind of makes sense, right? It goes probably down economic lines again, the rich and the poor, and the poor thought that the Constitution favored the rich, and vice versa. Well, actually, it's not true, not vice versa. But just in general, anti-federalists, so these are the people that are anti-federalists. Federalists, that's the federal government, so they're anti this. They don't like a strong central government. It reminds them too much of the kind of king days. You got Sam Adams and Patrick Henry, and if you remember Sam Adams, he is the one that's really rallying the people to revolt against the kings. Remember, he was really one of the biggest vocal leaders. So that kind of makes sense why he would be an anti-federalist, right? And Patrick Henry. So in general, what do they mean? Or what do they want? They want states' rights. They don't want a big federal government. They believe in the states. And that, guess what? North Carolina should be able to figure out how much taxes they want, and Georgia should be able to do this, and today there's a lot of that still, right? Texas should be able to have its own laws, California should be able to have its own laws, and there is a lot of that out there. So it is the poor class. We talked about that a little bit, because they're afraid of it. The central government is going to do all these taxes and take their land, and it's going to be powerful against the little people. Won't have a chance. So they really advocated. They said, I do not want this Constitution unless there is a Bill of Rights. And a Bill of Rights is basically, what they wanted was a list of things that the people, the rights that the people had, natural rights that the government could never take away. And it was not in the Constitution at the time. Okay, so then you get the Federalists, people like George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Alexander Hamilton. And guess what? These tend to be richer people. Wealthier, educated, they had power, they liked the strong central government because, and the argument is that it kept the power in their hands. They don't want the mob taking over. So basically you have, and you can kind of see this picture here, where the Federalists versus the Anti-Federalists are. We talked about location before. What do you see here? Anti-Federalists are a little bit more backcountry here. Okay, so how is this Constitution going to get ratified if you have such disagreement? Well, Federalist Papers, so basically, you're going to have people out there arguing for both, right? We shouldn't ratify it. We should ratify it. Well, Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, and James Madison decide to write this group of essays. And now, I don't know if you've ever read any of their stuff. It is, today, you like tweet one sentence, a couple sentences to get out your beliefs these days. Their writing is so much more educated than ours today. They'd be probably embarrassed that even political leaders are out there tweeting stuff when they wrote these huge essays. So if you've seen Hamilton or you know the Hamilton music, they talk about how Alexander Hamilton basically wrote most of these. And then James Madison did write a lot too, and James Madison also wrote a big part of the Constitution, a huge part of the Constitution. Anyway, so their group of essays, the most famous one is Federalist number 10, and basically arguing that it is possible for a large government to govern geographically, like the 13 colonies were spread out, right? It is possible to do that and still be a republic. So what happens is you basically get 9 states ratify it. And if you're looking at the timeline here, you get 3 that do it right away: Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. They're in. All right? And then kind of you see that the rest trickle in throughout the next year, but pretty soon after, Georgia and Connecticut and Massachusetts. That's pretty quickly. Maryland jumps on board. Okay, and then you get 9. Once you reach 9, boom, they decided at the Constitutional Convention that would be the law of the land. So 9 states have ratified it, and boom, it's the law of the land. Now you have New York, Rhode Island, North Carolina, and Rhode Island. And we know about North Carolina and Rhode Island, right? So New York does it pretty quickly after that. But if you look at the dates here, North Carolina and Rhode Island are going to do it a lot later, especially Rhode Island. It's because of that nonconformist personality that kind of state has, those states have. But they'd end up joining this for 2 reasons. One is they realize that if they don't join them, they're going to be by themselves, and they will not succeed by themselves. But the other reason is the Constitution, the congressmen decide that they will add a Bill of Rights once this is ratified. And so that really does turn the tide, and so they believe that that their rights will be covered. And so we're going to talk about the Bill of Rights next chapter, because those are super important. Okay? So just in general with the Constitution, what I want to point out right here, voting rights becomes it's still property, but it's becoming less so. The religious freedom, Virginia is the first state to really say that you can be whatever religion you want to be. Remember before, some of the places said, yeah, I'm tolerant, except if you're right? And that's going to be found later in the Bill of Rights. Freedom of religion. Slavery is still a thing, right? We talked about that. The international slave trade gets canceled in 1807, but there's still states, slavery and slave trade. It's really not until it's really all the way to the Civil War. Slavery is going to be strong and continue to grow. So now, last thing is women. Let me move this picture real quick. Down here, women, can you vote? No. You know what I just noticed? There's 2 guys in this picture. I wonder, I don't know a whole lot about this picture. That's very interesting. Brother? Religious? I don't know. Anyway, that's not even why I'm picking the picture. So women cannot vote, but women, if you look at this picture, are in charge of the kids. And so it's kind of, instead of letting them vote, they give them this nice idea called Republican motherhood. And that is the idea that women, although you can't vote, you are in charge of instilling these civic virtues that are so important to the United States. Like the idea of liberty and what it means to be a good citizen, and idea of voting and all that kind of stuff. So again, it's just really making women sound like they have a good job when they can't vote. Okay, that's it. Feel free to email me tonight, text me. I was going to say, I don't remember. Okay, all right. Quiz and then activity. Peace.